Well, last week, we're still in Luke. Love Luke. Last time we had the story about finding the lost. A shepherd who leaves the 99 to go and search for that one that is missing. And then there's the lady with the lost coin who scours the house until she finds it. And then, oh, what the rejoicing. Well, we skipped the story of the loving father, or prodigal son, who, seeing his estranged son far off, runs out to him with open arms, calls a feast, and welcomes him home. That is a great story in true gospel. Then comes the story that we have today about a dishonest manager, a shrewd or crooked manager, and what a strange and hard story it is to understand. So listen carefully as the word is read. May the Lord send God's Spirit to help us understand, claim, and live God's holy word.
Today, as you can see on the screen, from Luke 16, verses 1 through 13, and reading from the message today. Jesus said to his disciples, "There was once a rich man who had a manager. And he got reports that the manager had been taking advantage of his position by running up huge personal expenses. So he called him in and he said, 'What's this I hear about you? You're fired, and I want a complete audit of your books.' The manager said to himself, 'What am I going to do? I've lost my job as manager. I'm not strong enough for a laboring position, and I'm too proud to beg. I've got a plan. Here's what I'll do. Then, when I'm turned out into the street, people will take me into their houses.' Then he went at it, one after another. He called in the people who were in debt to his master, and said to the first, 'How much do you owe my master?' Replied, 100 jugs of olive oil. The manager said, 'Here, take your bill, sit down here. Quick now, write 50. To the next he said, 'And you, what do you owe?' He answered, 100 sacks of wheat. He said, 'Take your bill, write in 80. Now here's the surprise. The master praised the crooked manager. And why? Because he knew how to look after himself. Streetwise people are smarter in this regard than law-abiding citizens. They are on constant alert, looking for angels, surviving by their wits. I want you to be smart in the same way, but for what is right, using every adversity and to stimulate you, and let me start that one again. Using every adversity to stimulate you to creative survival, to concentrate your attention on the bare essentials, so you'll live, really live, and not complacently just get by on good behavior.' Jesus went on to make these comments. If you're honest in small things, you'll be honest in big things. If you're a crook in small things, you'll be a crook in big things. If you're honest in small jobs, who will put you in charge? If you're not honest in small jobs, who will put you in charge of the store? No worker can serve two bosses. He'll either hate the first and love the second, or adore the first and despise the second. You can't serve both God and the bank." This is the word of God. God is still speaking. Thanks be to God.
Oh God, you are grace unbounded. The steadfast love is as immense as the universe. You forgive our debts. You free us for your kingdom. Help us to make sense of your will this day. Guard us against all forms of greed and temptation. Bless the speaking, the hearing, and the living of your holy word. Amen. There was a radio preacher in eastern North Carolina who spent most of his airtime asking for money. And the owners of the station began to receive complaints, and consequently they established a new policy and told the minister he could no longer ask for money over the air. Now, surprisingly, the preacher took it, the news rather well, and simply asked, "Well, are there any limitations on prayer?" "Oh, no," said the manager. You can pray as you please." Well, that afternoon, during the broadcast, the radio preacher announced prayer time, and he prayed for the usual things. But then he concluded his prayer with this sentence: "Lord, you know that I am not here to ask for money. But my address is Rock 1996, Pine Bluff, North Carolina. So today we've got an interesting passage from the Gospel. The story of the dishonest manager, the shrewd manager. And it needs a little bit of sorting out. I mean, how is God speaking to us through this strange story? This clever manager who ends up doctoring up the books in order to win favor with his constituents. It's a money scandal story, but it has an unexpected twist. So what is Jesus telling us through this story? Don't you find it a bit odd that this crooked manager is actually praised for his self-serving charity? When the boss comes in, instead of a reprimand, the manager is affirmed and congratulated. And let's not forget that these acts of charity, of canceling all these debts, they actually cost the rich man even more money. Why then would he compliment the actions of this shrewd, if not crooked manager? That he acted shrewdly, that he was clever, that he was astute and keen-witted. And for that, the guy was rewarded. Now I chose the message because I like how the message says this next part. Jesus says, street-wise people are smarter in this regard than law-abiding citizens. They are on constant alert, looking for angles. Not angels, Mike. They're looking for angles. Surviving by their wits. I want you to be smart in that way, Jesus says. But for what is right, using every adversity to stimulate you to creative survival, to concentrate your attention on the bare essentials so you'll live, really live, and not complacently just get by on good behavior. Now, if you wanted to go back to the NRSV or the NIV, it's probably similar. It would say it this way: the children of this generation are more shrewd in their dealings than are the children of the light. Jesus then encourages his followers to make friends for yourselves by means of dishonest wealth, so that when it is gone, they may welcome you into the eternal homes. Now, one of the problems with this parable, there's really many things happening all at once. So you have to sort it out. I think Gene Peterson helps the way he translates it, but it's still, there's some explanation. Quite honestly, the story itself of a person canceling debts, perhaps even unjustly, reminds me of the scandalous nature of God's grace. Amazing grace that Ginger spoke of and sang of. I mean, what business does this Jesus have in constantly proclaiming that a person's sins are forgiven? And it doesn't matter what sins you have committed, what crimes you have done, the people you've hurt, the shame you carry, Jesus will erase it all. Sometimes I even thought of doing it today. I forgot, I guess, when I messed up with the confessional thing. You know, I take a camera, right? And cameras today are amazing things, a lot different than when I was a kid. With these digital cameras, you take a picture, and a lot of people just think, gosh, they take tons and tons of pictures. I looked into flying and was talking to a guy. He said all these young people, if they go up on a discovery flight to find out if they want to be a pilot or not, they take 1 million photos of everything, all these selfies of them in the plane, over the plane, you know. So, but right, you take these pictures, if you don't like one, it's real easy. You just erase it. You know, and sometimes I know on that camera, on my videos, when I go to delete something, it says, "Are you sure you want to delete everything?" Yes, I'm sure. And I click that. You know, you have to do it 2 times. You actually have to press the button over here, and then once you make sure, and so you have to press the button on the other side, and then on the other side. So, but when I do that, it's gone. Right? You can't get that back. That's the way it is with our sins. All that stuff we carry, and some of our regrets and our guilt and our sins, God can get rid of it all. Heartaches, regrets, shame, pain, suffering. It is nothing short of a miracle. It washes it all away, restores and renews, gives us another chance at life. A new life. And it's not just a one-time act, but God continues to give us grace. That is amazing. And so the story in itself, if you think of God as this manager, or not the manager, as the owner, just giving grace upon grace and forgiving debts. But most of the time, we're stuck in a different world, aren't we? Sometimes we think, well, people really ought to get what they deserve. And those people that hurt somebody, well, it should come back to them, and they should experience the same. They should pay for their crimes, by golly. But Jesus turns that all around. All around when you offer the gift of forgiveness, the gift of second birth. Scandalous indeed. And really, if we're honest, although it's good to say God has forgiven me, grace, when you really think about it, is something that's hard to accept. So you have that aspect of the story. But then you have the praise itself, how this dishonest manager is actually commended for his work. And further, Jesus shares a little piece of strange wisdom, saying how street people who really don't know any better, they're just sort of caught up in this crazy world, how are they actually smarter than people that are trying to live right by God? That's a hard one, isn't it? See, what Jesus is after here is the passion. It's this drive that so many people have. Now, we're people of faith, right? We try to follow the Word of God. We try to do the right thing, live for God, all that. But I think what Jesus saw in the religious folks of his day, that there were a lot of lukewarm people of faith. I mean, they weren't Christians yet, right? It was still Jesus was there, and then some of his Jewish brothers and sisters. They went through the motions. They did what they were supposed to do, but they weren't all in. They still didn't really get it, and they were often pretty critical of everybody else. But then, other folks that don't seem to have a strong religious background or faith, they're typically passionate about other things, aren't they? Sometimes about money, or material things, or power, or trying to get ahead. And some of these folks, they're really passionate about trying to find these things. So what Jesus is saying in this strange little few verses is that people like that, he just wishes that people that follow God had that same passion and drive. But not to do wrong stuff, this time to live right, to help the poor, to practice forgiveness, to share love. So many people chase after wealth and security and a good 501k plan with a house in the suburbs, the latest iPhone. But what they really need to be chasing after is what God wants us to live by. So this is what Jesus is doing. It's not that he's saying that everybody should go out and start obsessing over money and material things and start cheating and being dishonest. And I'm sorry, you can't use this passage to justify cheating on your tax returns. It's just that Jesus recognized that most people have a kind of obsession with getting ahead, with accumulating more and more money, security, comfort. And let's be honest, our economy is built upon, even our own democracy necessitates folks to look after their own self-interest. That same kind of passion and drive to accumulate wealth and get ahead, Jesus just wants you to have that kind of passion for the Lord. To let it drive you to do what is right. So I thought that today, this morning, I just came to the end. I didn't like how my sermon was ending. It's weird. The printers today, I ran out of a color cartridge on the laser printer, and I still had, a pretty good amount in the black and white. And so I figured I could still print stuff in black and white. No. The printer would not let me, and so Mike had to print off my sermon today. And then this morning I was like, I didn't really like the end of it. I was like, I got something else I want to use. And so he had to, thankfully, he printed it off. It's a poem, and it's an old poem. Well, it's not ancient, but it comes from 2006. This 11th grader at the time named Daniel, and I can't say this guy's name, Zetcha or something like that, wrote this as part of the Heifer International's Llama Drama program. And so it's entitled 27, and it was published in 2006. So this is 13 years old. And some of the references, well, I'll mention something at the end. So 27. Listen. Did you hear that? 27 children just died of hunger in the last minute. A sun sets over the poisoned heart of a child in Chernobyl. An orphan in Mozambique lies awake, staring into the eyes of the AIDS epidemic that took his family. A homeless child hiding amidst the wreckage of Honduras prays that her makeshift shelter will keep the storm at bay. A Navajo Indian child cannot sleep, for the murmur of his hungry stomach whispers nightmares in his waking nights. 4 children, thousands of miles apart, all breathe their last breath together. You didn't hear them, did you? The howl of the natural disasters, the cry of the hungry, the silence of the shame. Do you hear them? No. It seems that as mankind advances towards a brighter age, the world as we know it has grown dim. Connections between people are no longer necessary for survival. We have, it seems, retreated into ourselves. Our responses are triggered by the drone of the alarm clock, the ringing of the phone, the charismatic voice of a television commercial. We have walked through life with eyes closed, zombies straying through TV screens and cubicles and advertisements. Soft, unworked hands have met 3 square meals a day, and I know it seems hard to hear these children over the sound of our chewing. But while we are fed power and contentment, hunger, pain, and fear are the daily bread of the poor. 27 children a minute are killed by the fear that fed to their malnourished bodies. But their lives were once punctuated with something stronger than fear, something that kept these children going through both the good times and the bad. Hope. Hope is all they ever had. Our society may have more stuff than the impoverished ones, but that sense of hope in the face of emptiness is something missing in ours. For it is the common bond of hope that draws the communities of the poor together, that sense of helplessness that makes families so strong, and that kind of connection between people cannot be made through glowing television screens or endless rows of cubicles. We need to wake up. We need to hear the children sing the songs of hope as well as the ones of pain, celebrations of life as well as acknowledgments of death, the whispers as well as the outcries. It's all there. We may be in the dark, but the cries of hope can still reach us. Find it within yourself to feel. Look, touch, hear, taste, smell. Find the strength when you're within yourself to be sympathetic. Be angry, be hopeful, be something, but feel. And once our perception is clear, once we silence the drone of machinery in our heads, then we can connect. Imagine a free trade on happiness, a relief wave of social justice, full stomachs as well as full hearts. These are all possible. listen. Can you hear them singing? So that poem was written before cell phones. Well, I mean, we had cell phones, but not like we have today. And the TV screens, it's only gotten worse. I mean, you know how everybody is just glued to that phone like a zombie. It spoke to me today. I hope it spoke to you. We're to give it all to God. God, Jesus wants that passion, but he sees people all chasing after the wrong things in their life. You can't just go through the motions with your faith. Your faith has got to take you to the next level. You got to go all in. You have to give it all to God. And with that drive, do what we are called with a life filled with love and grace and justice. And then you will see the kingdom. Thanks be to God. Amen.